This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 232 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
What's happening, Nicole? I know you hate doing these virtual.
I
We're both in the Northeast, and we still have to do it virtual.
I hate the virtuals. I didn't even. Do you know how I found out I was doing virtual? From your story this morning. I was like, wait a
I,
minute, where is he? I'm like,
well,
I'm
you knew
like,
I was
I'm
gone
not
this weekend.
filming. I'm not filming on like the Hudson River. What's happening? Yeah,
No, well, you should have come over here. Would have
I
been
wasn't invited.
better. Yeah, no,
So
hold on, Nicole.
no, when was I
Yeah,
invited?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I said come down. We had the Johnny Drinks pod yesterday down in Ocean City, New Jersey. We talked about that whole thing because Buffet was down in New Jersey. There was we were talking about
That
that.
yeah, briefly, but then you called me a loser that night, and then we didn't talk for 3 days.
So, for anybody that knows who Johnny Drinks is on TikTok, this Friday on the Byron Lazine podcast, just an all-time pod with a $20,000 bottle of bourbon that was opened during the pod. That's all I'll say. You got to check that out. Nicole should have been there, could have been there, which means we could have done this podcast together in person. But
At the
we're going to make it
disruptor's
happen.
office. Yeah, I feel good about it. I'm here
Looking
I
good,
mean,
feeling good. Let's go. All right.
feel great.
Racket number one. By the way,
By the way, we're not
same.
doing same thing. We're
No.
still not
Same setup as
right.
last week. Two rackets,
Yes.
skipping over the third segment as we put the final touches to our new third segment, which is replacing the Marketeer. The
Mhm.
last Marketeer ever was when we announced our finalist spot on the Inman Innovators. By the way, Nicole, in
Yes.
the comments last week, really
I
appreciate all
heard.
you guys' comments
Mhm.
saying that this show is better than the Overask. You can continue to
Way
flood those
better though, it
comments.
sounds like. It sounds like it's way but not
Way
just like,
better.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah," like
No,
I have to make a decision, like, I'll pick you. It was,
it
like,
was head over heels, in
head
love
over
with the real word,
heels. Yes.
over ask. So I'm screenshotting all of your comments, sending them over to Inman because I just feel like Matt and Eric, they are in the bag. It's in the bag with Inman that they're going to win it.
What?
They've been doing a lot of sucking up. And
That's
so I'm going to
silly.
send your screenshots to Inman so they know to choose us for the Inman Innovator Award and not over ask. But
Hmm.
appreciate all your comments and your support there. All right. Racket number one. Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for National Association of Realtors, he testified on Capitol Hill last week. And what he said to lawmakers was the market will not improve without action on supply. So the inventory crunch will continue to chip away at affordability and sideline more buyers unless Congress enacts policies to boost housing production. Again, according to NAR's chief economist last week on Capitol Hill. We've talked a whole bunch about June being down on pending sales, but despite that, we talked about this actually in the walkthrough last week,
Mhm.
seen sale prices hit all-time record highs. Month over
Yep.
month over month, the sale prices keep going up. They're not going down. There's a whole bunch of people rooting for them to go down that are like, I'm not going to get into the market until they go down. They're going to
Yeah.
fall.
They're not
I'm in
falling.
alignment with the NAR chief economist. I don't see a drop in prices, Nicole,
Yeah.
until we figure out how we're going to get more supply. Well, everyone's like, oh, we're just going to get more supply because, the economy is bad. People are going to put their house on the market. Are we forgetting that 1 out of 4 buyers are investors right now, that they're cash, that this is nothing like 2008? I mean, I can go on and on about this. I don't see prices coming down, and I certainly don't see Congress fixing the issue. What are your thoughts, Nicole?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think at this point, I think we've all established the fact that prices are not going down. Maybe the increase will slow, but definitely not. I don't think the prices will go down. I think at the end of the day, I think the most difficult, the thing that we're up against, and we've talked about it for weeks. We've talked about it with our agents too. Even if the economy is bad, we're still talking about a lot of homeowners that have those 2.5, 3.5
Yep.
rates. Where what the hell are you going to do if you do sell? I mean,
That's going to
rent is
keep
at a
inventory down.
absolutely, and rent is at an all-time high too, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna sell to rent to then do like, it's just there isn't really much that Congress can do. Again, I mean, obviously, they're trying to slow down inflation, which is why the rates keep going up, but that would really, in my mind, be the only thing that would maybe, loosen up and give us a little bit more supply, but I don't
Well, here
I don't know.
I don't to your point, people that are locked into these low rates, why would they sell? There's a lot of
Yeah,
equity right now. So rates going up, is that going to create more supply? Maybe a little bit, but it's also going to do is eliminate a whole bunch of buyers,
a
right?
lot of
So
buyers,
the,
yeah,
the
and a lot
problem
of
is,
sellers though, because if they have to sell and then they're gonna be buying at such a higher rate.
yeah. And the
Yeah,
problem is if you're trying to increase supply, but you have no buyers, now you just have supply that's sitting there. And if you
right.
have that kind of scenario, prices tank. And listen, we'd have to get into probably, I don't know, 7.5, 8% interest rates for something like that. But that would disappear buyers. It'd be very unhealthy if interest rates got that high. Now there's people that believe they will go to
Yeah,
7 or 8%.
yep.
And there's going to be agents even in these comments, and I'd love please comment if this is happening in your market. Jason Cassidy said last week on the walkthrough that it was happening in San Diego where prices are actually going down. I'm like, no, Jason, I'm not talking about people reducing their prices. I'm talking about the closings over the last 30, 60 days. He says that's the case in San Diego. Now, San Diego is when we're looking at the national average, the median
Yeah.
nationally, San Diego's a luxury market that 99% of people can't buy in anyways. So I'm like, okay, cool. San Diego's dipping a little bit. It's also been on a tear for 15 years. But when we're talking
Yeah.
about the overall, Bobby, that's the breathe. That is the breathe. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Just so
Uh-oh.
you're aware. So Bobby, not to jump totally out of the
You are
prices.
jumping
Bobby, our producer,
totally.
we're doing this podcast with Johnny Drinks, and he's done this before, and I pointed it out to him yesterday. Sometimes he just does this enormous deep breathe like he wants to be nowhere in the room. I mean, we're sitting there with Johnny Drinks. This guy's got he just had Kevin Hart on his podcast. And
Poor
so
guy, he's probably holding his breath, making sure nothing goes wrong, and he needs
Thank
to,
you,
like
Nicole.
he needs to
Thank you,
he has
Bobby's
to, like,
thanking
take
you,
he's
but
like, "Fuck," like, "What is gonna happen?" And then he had to take a deep breath, and
it's
then
the
he's gonna
biggest
hold
anxiety breath.
again.
But I just wanted to point it out to you, Bobby, that is exactly what we were talking about. So anyways, going back to some of
San
these luxury
Diego.
markets,
Yeah.
if they're going to drop in price, get it. But when I'm saying prices aren't going down, I'm talking about the national market, what Tom Toole calls the meat and potatoes market, which is the majority of communities. And depending on where you're commenting, love to hear from you in the comments. Are you seeing prices go down, like legitimately close sales, not listing prices? Because we know some people are listing at extremely high prices that are not
Extremely high.
realistic.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I agree.
those price reductions we're seeing, Nicole, don't mean as much to me as where are they
No,
closing
price
out at?
reductions mean nothing because there's still people are still overpricing, thinking that the market is still excelling at the 25% that it was. Where again, we're looking at numbers now. What are they saying? Like 10, 13%, like year over year. So the price reductions do make sense to me if they're not being educated in properly, positioning themselves in the market.
Yun also noted the impact of rising mortgage rates, of course, and the lingering effects of COVID-19 on the nation's broader economy. When the Federal Reserve essentially went all in the early months of the pandemic, the decline in mortgage rates and the cautious reopening of the economy, obviously, we know boosted the. So these are words everybody knows. He's
Yep.
testifying. He's trying to
Yep.
keep it
Yep.
vanilla, down the middle, 99 down the middle. The housing market always responds to changes in the mortgage rates. So, yep, obviously, we're seeing that. I don't know, not much here because I don't know that. Obviously, if we can figure out a way to increase inventory, it's better for the affordability of the market. More people can become homeowners, and that's going to help. But also, our investors are going to be buying at this rate. I don't know, that would continue to impact things. The
Right.
problem is you can say this to Congress, you can say this to our government, and they'll certainly campaign on something up to
Of
November, but they'll
course.
do nothing after.
No.
And so you've got to what they can do is make it easier for builders to get projects through. If it takes them 4 years to get a project through, if you can cut that time in half, reduce their costs from a regulation standpoint on building projects, I think you'll see more inventory for whatever reason, especially in certain markets, the more densely populated markets, they've had a hesitancy over the years to do that. So, all right. Final
Slow
thoughts on that?
week. No thoughts. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
It is what it is.
Hey guys, appreciate you checking out this episode of The Real Word. If you want the full episode, go over to the Broke Agent YouTube. That's where we're hosting the full podcast. If you want to continue to see the segments broken out and the short clips, stay right here on the Real Word YouTube.